very beginning is still very open and can see what's going on. So sometimes the soul will not ground in enough, and sometimes it's just an accident. They don't ground in enough. They're having a problem. It feels heavier than they thought, and they lose that opportunity. They drift out, and then of course the body dies because it can't live without the soul. That happens sometimes. Sometimes there are souls, though, who will come into a circumstance, and it's not the way it should have been, but they want the opportunity, and they are willing to stay. And there have been some circumstances that souls have come into that have been very, very difficult. And when that happens, when a soul comes into, let's say, a drug-addicted mother, but the soul is determined, they are going to have that lifetime. Then they attract to them friends who have been with them in different lifetimes, who can step forward to ease that pain and to be there for support. So that happens too. That happens when a soul is coming into a very difficult circumstance. Now right now, things are going on the earth plane. I've talked about how chaotic the energies are. And so it creates these circumstances where you have a lot of refugees. That has always, always happened on the earth plane where there have been refugees. The thing is, there haven't been as many souls on the earth plane as there are now. The earth plane has been relatively limited to souls who've been here, which has helped the earth plane because it hasn't had all of the revenue, all the resources it has be used as quickly as they're being used now. So you can see what's happening. She is having trouble keeping balanced, and it's not balanced. And so the energy that Mother Earth is using, she is a great soul, who loves being able to hold the energy of this planet so that beings can be here. She gains Dharma from it because she is able to be a source of service. You know, where I come from, being of service is number one. It really is. We love it. We love the way it feels. We love what happens. We love the little gold stars we get. Those are fun. You get gold stars down here too. You just don't know it. You can do something that seems to you minuscule, but it can be very important to another. And so you get the gold star. And they do too, because they have maybe stepped out of their truth. If they're in a very depressed state, they don't remember who they are. If you give them a smile and pat on the back even, it lifts that a moment and allows the higher self to breathe in the air and say, we're okay, we're power. If you would all listen to your power, we're okay, then everything would start to move differently. It's very difficult though right now, I must say. Even very evolved souls are struggling with this because the denseness of the energies, the way they're being misused, and right now there is so much anger. These energies hit people and it makes them feel out of balance. if they're not doing the spiritual work like meditating, breathing, trying to step away from different things, if they're always in the thick of it, they inhale it. It's very difficult at times, I know that. That's why now we're trying to move closer, a little bit closer. The guides that work with you, all the different energy healers, because the way these energies are coming in, it can knock you out of balance, and that is not good for the physical body, because the body has to have the energy to stay in balance. If it gets energy all the time coming at it that is very heavy, very negative, then the body has trouble staying in balance. I've spoken about energies before, about energy is neutral, but some energies are more powerful than others, and the New Age energy is trying to move in, and it's struggling with it because those on the earth plane who can think and feel don't like the way it feels, and they're trying to hold the energy they have. I know this doesn't seem to make sense when you think about it, but it's happening. So what I would like for, and all of us who work on this side and get to work with you, because it's, I must say, I want to say this, that for me to get to talk to you is really wonderful. I love it. And if we can work with you, be home, which is where we like, because it's easy, and get to talk to you and feel that we make just an itty bitty bit of difference, then it's great fun for us. We love it. And there aren't too many of us who really have the opportunity that I have right now to be able to connect with you. So I have people who here who are a little bit like they might like to do that, but they have to have the right person that they work with. We have been together forever, Geraldine and I, through different names and different lives and different times, so that we are able to flow together. But it's not the easiest thing in the world, you know, for that to happen. But you can all connect with your spirit guides. You may not think so, but they are with you at all times. They love you. They want to connect with you. So, you know, here's the thought to try. Okay, just as you're drifting off to sleep, you know, when you first get in bed, to be in a soft, sort of meditative state, and you're surrounding yourself. I would recommend everybody do this anyway. Surround yourself with a white light as you're going to sleep. I know we've talked about it when you're just going into meditation, but I think it would be very helpful now with the way these energies are moving in, the chaos that seems to be going on. Everybody seems to hate everybody else. That's out in the media. It's not truth, but people like attention. Some people like attention, so that's what's happening. So, but if you will, as you're drifting off, surround yourself with that white light and say to your guide, I'm open. And then, when you get up in the morning, take a moment and see what ideas float into your mind. Because you might, if it's working well and the energies are balanced, you might get some information that would be very, very helpful to you. You know, as you're drifting out of this consciousness into your rest time, which moves you into another consciousness, then that's a time to, before you go to sleep, to protect yourself, but also you will hear some information that will be helpful. And don't be discouraged. You know, this is not the easiest thing in the world, and especially now, because these energies are very powerful. They're moving in, they're being picked up by people who are misusing them, and then that creates negativity, and so you have to be blocking that as well. I think I want to take some questions and then we can expand on this.
So John, when somebody is listening, how is it that they can know the right voice or the right scent? You know, there's a lot of different messages coming across. How do you recommend?
Well, if you're in meditation,
Right.
okay, let's say you're in meditation and you're hearing these things, it's going to hit your solar plexus if it's not the right thing, which means you need to be more in touch with your body. But your body will know if it's not good.
Okay.
It will not feel good to your body.
Okay.
These bodies are barometers, really. They can tell when it's wrong, when it's not in balance. It doesn't feel right, it feels a little bit off, you may be a little jittery, then you know.
And what if somebody's moving along and they're working with emotions that feel very powerful and don't feel good? How do you recommend that they shift? What do you recommend that they can do to help shift into a more positive way of experiencing that day? How do they shift that train of thought or that action? You know, it's, especially with all the energies, it can be easy to go negative. How do you shift into more positive?
Easy. And I'm going to use Geraldine as an example. She hates this, but this morning she had that when she got up. She had this weird nightmare. Somebody was being kidnapped. And she got to stop reading these suspense books, you know? But anyway, so that was her first when she got up this morning, and she was like out of balance. And everything was wrong. And she was like, oh, wait, I remember. So then she started doing some work on it, trying to pull positive energy in. So that's what you have to do. The most important thing, I think, is the awareness. What is coming into you from the outside world might not be that important, might it not? What is more important is centering this whole body in your truth. You're divine beings. You're divine beings. So if you can stop looking at yourself as just a person and remember who you are. We're connected. You're my cousins, you know? And you have the same energy, the same power as anyone on this earth plane. Probably, maybe even more, because you center your energy in a divine time, in a time of being part of the one mind and walking the earth plane, but not allowing the earth plane to tell you who you are. Because people like to tell other people who they are. You should do this, you are this. Wrong. You are all divine beings. And you know in your solar plexus, you know people say, it's about the gut thing, solar plexus. If it feels bad here, it's not for you. Does that make sense, Becky?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I have a question, John.
Good.
I'm not sure how to word this, but I would say last week, because we're talking about energies, I felt very sad. I woke up in the morning maybe three times, 4 times in a row. I don't know what it was. I kind of cried. I just went with it, you know. Maybe I had said get something out. I don't know. So my question is, it almost felt like a depression, but I don't want to say I'm a depressed person.
You're not.
But I don't know what that was about. So my thought was it something else causing me to feel that way, or did I make myself cause
No,
that
it
way?
was the energies that were moving through.
Okay.
See, here's the thing. The more you open yourself up, the more susceptible to
Okay.
energy you become. So that's why I'm always talking about using white lights, protecting yourself, because, and try and stay away from the television, you know, if you can, somewhat, because there's a lot. See, that energy from that comes through on energy, really.
Yeah.
Those things, those pictures, and it can impact your body. So you don't want that. So try and stay away from that, and try not to watch things that, if you can not ever watch the news, that would be good, but that's impossible, I think, because if you get on the internet, there it is too. So it's always coming at you, and it's always like there's this, let's see all these bad things, and then, so we'll feel bad. There was good news this time about those children, and everyone on the earth plane was rejoicing. It was good news. It was good news, and people who report the news were very cheered and joyful. See, if we had more of that, you know, that type of thing, that openness to, because those children are part of you. That's why everyone was so joyful, and it was there. I will say, those guides that were there on that side were helping, holding the energy, helping those beings who did that, who had the courage to come up with those ideas. All of that was a miracle, all of it. And it was because everyone there was open, was saying prayers to be and there was a lot of prayer coming from all over the world toward that. And that's how that unfolded. And I think that really shows, too, even though no one is saying that, the value of the energy of prayer. Putting that thought out doesn't always have to be the words. It can always be the thought and the energy, sending it out, like sending out healing energy. Okay, I'll take another question.
I have another one.
Go ahead.
You know me, I always have a question.
That's good.
I know you say not to watch certain things on TV or whatever, but I do thoroughly enjoy watching Animal Planet
Oh, but
and
that's
that
different.
kind of thing. And it makes me feel good to see the good things that people are doing to save the animals, blah, blah, blah. My problem is I'll get watching other things like called The Dead File or something about a haunting. I know, because I'm so curious about where this negative energy comes from. Not that I want to experience it. So I have this curiosity about it, and I know I probably shouldn't do that.
Well,
But I don't understand it.
let's talk about that.
Where do these negative things come in people's homes that are haunting them
All
or
right.
hurting them?
Well, you're talking about people.
Or that too.
Souls that got stuck here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because sometimes they're called a demon or
Well,
this,
you want
and
us-
I don't know.
You definitely want to stay away from
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about it.
Well, I know, but here's the thing. Let's talk about what you call ghost, or there's another term. I forget what it is.
Disembodied spirits.
No, but what is it when they talk about ghosts who do bad things? Well, whatever.
Poltergeist?
Poltergeist, that's it. Okay, energy is all there is, right? And so let's say somebody is completely into the physical. They use energy negatively. And when it comes time to pass out, to come home, they're afraid. They're angry, they feel cheated, blah, all these negative energies, and they don't make the crossing. They stay here. This is not something that helps the soul. It can come, the higher self is screaming, let go, and the personality energy is holding it. And so then what happens is the higher self sort of goes to sleep, really. The soul energy is so devastated that it's not in control anymore. The personality energy is pulling on that soul energy. And so it's very angry, and it can manipulate things. So it's best to try and stay away from these energies. If you walk into a room and you feel that energy, I would say walk out. Now, you are strong, so are they. Do you need this aggravation in your life to walk your path? I would say no. And I would say dealing with those energies, I know there are things on the television where people do this, they think it's a fun thing. I personally don't think it's a good thing, and let me tell you, they are not using their energy to the highest when they do this. But there seems to be a lot of curiosity about this, but it's a negative use of energy and it's personality use, and they've pulled on the soul energy and it's misused. One of the things I always recommend, I find this very sad, is that if someone is doing this, then do it for a higher purpose. Do it to connect with this soul energy, to send them love, to surround them with healing energy, and try to get them to come back home. They will never be happy when they are stuck on this plane of existence. They can't move forward. It's very depleting on the soul energy itself. So, does that explain
Yeah,
any
that's,
of it
that's
better?
helpful. I just wonder, like, if they feel like they're stuck, how do they get to the white
But-
light and go home?
They might not know. That's why I say these people that go in there and work with them, they have a responsibility then. If they're going to connect with this and they're going to make money off of it for other people to watch it, then they have a emotional, mental responsibility to help these souls realize. You know, they may, some of these people who get stuck down here are really, they have misused energy and their actions are pure evil. They are not. Their actions are, and they're depleting soul energy. So this is what they know. They have forgotten everything about home, because most people do. You know, that's what your civilization seems to do here, is like focus on this, and staying alive is more important than anything else. Well, yeah, you want to use this opportunity of this body that you have, but they have forgotten. So you have a responsibility, if you're going to do these things, to start to remind them. And if you send them love and compassion, it's going to jar them and maybe open them up to remember. There are souls who have been stuck here, and yet others have worked with them and sent them, been compassionate, sent them loving energy, and given them the courage to move up and come home. So it can happen. It's bound to happen that there are those who get stuck. It's bound to, because there are just so many souls coming and going all the time. And if you don't have a memory, a core memory of your truth, then it is more difficult. And you know, even souls who are, let's say, very religious, they can have a time when they start to pass out of the body of fear. And is their faith tested? That can happen. You know, it can be very frightening to leave what you know. when babies come in, they've left what they know. But they have more of an understanding because they're coming from home. But, you know, they cry a lot. They cry a lot because the energy feels heavy, you know. But there's an inner knowing, you know, as they grow and ground in to where they can have that joy of who they are coming from this side. So sometimes it's probably easier coming in than going out because you can get here and you forget there's anything else. You think this physical world is all there is. Well, if you thought that, that would be frightening to leave the body. But you set this up. This has been scheduled this way to have these times on earth and then come back home. Maybe you stay at home. Maybe you stay at home and work over here. Being in this energy feels good. Yes, it's harder here, but then you gain more gold stars too.
I have a question that I was asked to bring up. This thing called ghost boxes. Geraldine had heard about them from a friend and was curious about what they were.
It's these things where they use like electricity. It's similar to what these people use when they go out looking for
Yeah, I know what
ghosts.
they're talking about.
Yeah, and so
Ghost
they
adventures.
put these out, and then energy comes through it, and they think they're getting a disembodied spirit. Maybe so, but truthfully, that's not somebody you want to talk to, because if it's someone who is stuck here, and there can be a lot of anger, there can be it can just be misuse of energy. So sometimes they might get spirit, sometimes they might just be picking up energies flowing through, and then that someone who is supposedly the one who knows is saying, well, this is so and so, and this is what they said. This is a misuse, and if you're going to do things like that, you have to protect yourself. You are going to be picking up negative energy. So, but I would say sometimes you get a spirit, but not always. It can just be, you know, there's a lot of energy floating around. So that can be that. I don't recommend those things.
So is there really such thing as this evil thing called a demon then, or is it just a person?
No, it's not. What it is somebody who has misused energy. And so they are misusing energy, but to be a foreign thing, no, that's not. We didn't create those. What we did was you came from home, you came into a physical body, you know, and there are those who came into a physical body and misused energy the whole time, then wouldn't go home, then fed on the negative energy in the planet. So that's what it is. But for it to be a demon, somebody who is completely different, that isn't true. You know, you hear the talk about these, about a devil, you know, wrong. It's not true, but it's been made up, and it can also be used by people if they don't want to do something. It's not their fault because the devil did it, but that's not true. You always have power over your own energies, unless you're, well, I can't think of a time when you, even if you're in let's say you're in a coma, you're still there, you know. So you still have the opportunity, if you wish, to come back into that body. You have more power than you know.
How do, for those of us as we are watching someone we love leave, or we are having children who come in and cry, how do we assist them in helping the journey home or the journey into this life easier?
Well, let's talk about going home first. Everyone is a unique individual, right? They are a piece of this whole energy that we call God. So everyone is different as to how they go home. With loved ones with them, it's best if you cannot be sobbing your heart out, if you can be peaceful with them, so that it makes the easier going. Everyone is different though. There are those who are gonna fight not to go because that's supposed to be a good thing. If you have cancer, you fight. Okay, but if it's your time and you are able to let go, then that is best. So I recommend if someone is leaving, if you can sort of open yourself up to be compassionate. Now, protect yourself, okay? Protect yourself with a white light and protect the person leaving as well if you can. And to hold the energy that way. So so they can leave without feeling they are harming someone by leaving. There are times when someone is leaving and people try to hold them and they can't stay. And it makes it much more difficult when they get over here and they have this feeling of guilt because they left, but it was all programmed before. So that's the best way. Now, with a birth, that's different, isn't it? That's considered a joyful time. And if you can keep a positive thought and keep the energy peaceful, because you got to remember when this soul is coming into the earth plane, it's already feeling very heavy, and they're like discombobulated. So if you can keep it peaceful, then that is the best thing that can happen. But quite often, it's not that way, because the mother is going through such physical pain and physical changes at that time. Sometimes that's really not a possibility. But if everyone else there can stay centered in a peaceful, loving, joyful energy, then that makes it much easier for the child to adapt. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
John, I have a question.
Hi.
There is a, kind of like what Geraldine does, there is a earth being, her name is Esther Hicks, and she provides, shall I say, a ministry on earth where she travels the globe, and she's a channeler like Geraldine, and she's working on behalf of beings called Abraham. So a set of energies that are imparting wisdom in various capacities. Have you had a chance to meet up with Abraham? Again, and this is a collective body of souls.
Right. Yeah, she works with several different guides,
Yeah.
but it's always the same ones. And there's 6 or 7 guides that work with her.
Yeah.
And the reason they do it this way is she is always out there, always promoting. So she's putting a lot of energy out and pulling on the guides. Well, you know, we all have things to do besides just working with the guides. So that's why she has several. When someone, and she does, she's very in integrity. She works
Yeah.
at staying focused and centered on what she does.
Yeah.
And the guide she has, well, I know a couple of them, so, but she will not always have the same guides.
Yeah.
Let me tell you how this works. she had, her main guide is her own spirit guide,
Yeah.
okay? And then she has several others, and there will be some who will work with her for a while, and then will move on to do something else. But of course, in the meantime, there will be other guides coming in who are generating that energy to be able to work with her.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Mhm. Yes. Yeah, she places a lot of focus on the law of attraction.
Yes, and that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she came for, is to really teach that lesson about thought and things. And there are a lot of teachers who teach that lesson, but it's just a difficult lesson to remember and to accept when you're on the earth and when you're down here working in the muck.
Yeah.
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 What would be your, with that being Esther Hicks, what would be yours and Geraldine's focus? What would be your focus? What would be the primary teaching for you to impart, to share?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, actually, what we want to do is really teach people about their own power and how to balance the bodies. Because you got to remember, she works with energy healing as well, which Esther does not. So her focus is about healing, and healing emotional bodies, healing the physical body, healing the mental body. So that's what we talk about a lot, and that's why we remind you all the time of where you came from. Because healing is always possible, always. And so I guess that's our focus, now that I think about it. We always want you to remember your truth. And when you can do that, remembering who you are, then that will help you heal emotional, heal physical, heal the mental, control these thoughts that come to you quite often are not your thoughts and they're not real. And they're an aspect of all the energies floating around and hit you. And then you have to go, oh, that's not right. And so then when you do that, you're triggering yourself. And you're bringing, that is actually an aspect of healing energy when you do that. When you remind yourself of your truth. I had not really thought about what our focus was, but now that I think about it, that's what I usually talk about. And when I talk about the weather, when I talk about the way the energies are coming in, you know, you cannot change the weather, right, Gary? But you can learn to deal with it using your own energy to work with what is being presented to you.
And isn't that kind of like even the gift now, with the energies being so intense,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to feel victimized by it. What we can do is let it become a time where we begin to truly embrace the power that we do have
Right.
and what we can bring.
Yes, and here we go back to awareness, you know. If you can be aware of your truth, and that's, if you look at the earth plane, you'll see that's not something that is happening much. And if it were, it would be different. It would be easier, there would be more cooperation. But you know, if you look at what you see unfolding around you, you will see soul energy often steps up. And compassion is used. When you see someone attacking another person verbally, however, that's somebody that is an unhappy person who is using the energy, misusing it. They've allowed it to hit them. They are unhappy about their life. And if they see something that they feel is an insult to them, then they react negatively. And you're seeing more and more of it now because of the strength of these energies. You know, in the past, 200-300 years ago, there were fewer people on the earth plane. So it was easier for people to sort of get away from each other, you know, and be in nature. Well, it's harder to get in nature now. Nature is being stressed to the limit. The animals in nature are being stressed to the limit. And I would actually ask all of you if you would keep the animals, Mother Earth, in your prayers daily for the energy, for you to, you know, that she doesn't get the love and the recognition she deserves. And so if you would do that, that would be very helpful for her. So I would ask that you consider that.
So how do you do that? How do you send? Do you just, is it a simple thought, John?
Yes, it is.
Just saying
It's
gratitude?
like, okay, right now, if we went into meditation, let's all do that for a second. We'll close our eyes and then we're gonna, let's think of a beautiful pink light, which is love. And then let's picture the earth when you see those pictures from space. See those? And then we're gonna send that love to the earth for her to feel that energy and love and appreciation for us. So do you feel that? See that? Feel that goodness? Okay. All right, what do you think? See, we can do that in the morning. That wouldn't take very long, would it?
And that's enough. Sometimes being human, you feel like you've just got to spend hours on it to really make it be effective.
I know.
At least I do. So it's
Like
just as
5
simple as
minutes
that
a month.
moment. It doesn't have to be. It's not about time.
It's about the emotional attachment with the energy and that pink light, which is the love of compassion. So you don't have to do it forever and ever, you know, just to let her know. You know, and like when somebody goes out in nature and they go, oh, so beautiful. That's another aspect of appreciation to the earth.
Yeah, I would just make a comment, John. Becky and myself had an opportunity to visit our two sons in Florida. They recently relocated to the west coast of Florida. And we took a road trip. And it was my observation, I think a joint observation, that you could definitely see the stresses on the land. People are flocking to Florida. It's kind of like the Mecca for a lot of northerners, people from this part of the country, because they're fleeing the Rust Belt areas and towns because of our cold winters, or relatively speaking cold winters. So they go to Florida. So the Florida Peninsula and a good part of the southeast is growing rapidly. We've seen Atlanta, Georgia, a lot of these towns that were small and have grown rapidly, and they're just being overrun with people. Not in a bad way, but they're just being stressed out. And you can just, I saw firsthand of that in Florida. In an area that's very fragile, the ecosystems are under a lot of stress.
Oh, yeah.
So more of a comment, not a question, but kind of resonating what you were sharing.
Well, and if you look at California, you see the same thing has happened there.
Yeah.
It is so populated, and it has stressed that ecosystem to the max. That's why all these things are happening out there. And it was still is beautiful, but at one time, it was a very, very beautiful area, but then too many people came, and they stressed all the resources. You know, I talked the last time I came about natural resources of the earth. And one of the ones you have here, of course, is your water. And I will tell you to keep an eye. I would say within 18 months, you're going to have things come up at your government level, high level, where perhaps some of the resource you have of water might be diverted. That needs to be nipped in the bud, so pay attention to it, because that should not be happening. This area here is in pretty good shape, because first of all, you don't have all these people, hordes of people coming in, you have people who've left, but the balance here is pretty good. You're not having floods in this area. You know, some parts are flooding, but it's east, near coastlines. Here, things are pretty level. Yes, you do have some cold weather, not like you used to. Okay, it's not as intense most of the time, but you still have cold weather. There's still some balance, here's what I'm trying to say, in this area, okay? Up until you get further out into, I would say, the west, where, you know, like Nevada, and there are other states there, like Wyoming, and those states, they have some very bizarre temperatures, but they have fewer people, so they've been able to hold the balance better.
Are you familiar with the, there's one of the things that has happened is that they're trying to mitigate the fire retardant.
The what?
It's a fire retardant, right, that's been put on the
Correct.
airplanes at the base.
Uh-huh.
That has impacted a couple of, well, I guess it's been ongoing.
Yeah.
And they've been managing it by turning well fields off and turning them, you know, and adjusting so it does not impact the water.
Oh,
I was just wondering if you were
that's a
familiar
good
with that?
idea.
Yeah, because
Because-
they've been on top of it.
Yeah, there have been things that have happened here that are not really good about the water.
Right.
And so, but you've had some people who, who have gotten involved immediately to try and stop it. So I think that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you want that protected.
Cool.
It hasn't been protected in other areas.
And speaking of natural resources, when we talk about water, we have seen a trend, and this is kind of a worldwide trend, with water levels rising. Glaciers are melting due to climate change, and I speak that from a nonpartisan, but from a scientific
Right.
perspective. Water levels are rising, and there's increasing evidence, and I've seen it too, based on a recent visit again to Florida. Are you seeing evidence, you know, from your perspective of water levels, sea levels rising?
All over the world. Yes, but that's what's happening with the damage that has been done and continues to be done. It can still slow things down when it comes to the shifting. I will say the good thing is, even though it looks like everyone in government is trying to get rid of everything, there are others who are working just as diligently to protect the earth. And it's not just your government. Many governments around the world have seen things happen. And there are some very evolved souls and scientists who are working to slow what they see as degradation down. So that's happening. Do we want to talk about anything else?
Well, I noticed you talk about Earth as a she. Is the Earth a female energy?
Well,
Or
Mother
is it
Earth.
just Mother Earth?
Mother Earth, so here's the thing, it's probably not, but it's a nurturing energy, okay? And quite often, nurturing, we think of mothers, right? Fathers nurture too, but it's neither female or
Okay,
male.
that's just a figure of speech. Okay.
You can correct me, it's neither one, but, you know, you talk about Mother Earth, Mother Nature, things like that, because those energies that are holding the planet together are nurturing, compassionate energies. So as far as gender goes, there is no gender. Kathy, you haven't spoken to me at all. Would you
I've
like to
been
talk to me?
listening. I don't have any questions.
Okay, all right. Do we have any more? Okay,
I have and bear with me,
okay.
kind of an odd question, but I'll ask the question anyway. You've spoken a lot about energy. Do you have the power, and even the souls that have passed, and the souls that you work with and congregate with on a daily basis, do you have the power to illuminate to a human being on earth?
Do I have the power?
Yeah.
Explain to me what that means.
Yeah, in other words, would John, do you have the capacity to illuminate, take your energy and illuminate it to a human being, to someone on the earth plane? Or could that be anyone? There have been instances documented where a soul who has passed on was able to illuminate itself, maybe in communicating to a human.
Oh,
Yeah.
but usually when that happens,
Not in a.
but I think I understand the
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
which that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I think usually when that happens, Gary, it is a strong connection, okay?
Yeah.
It's usually mother-son, or family member,
Yeah.
a grieving member of the family who, say, lost their father.
Yeah.
And that soul will show up to them to help them move on,
Yeah.
or a husband and wife.
Right.
Yeah, that can happen. Would I be doing that to someone? Probably not, because I don't have, well, Geraldine's here, but I don't have relatives really that, that was so many eons ago that I was here
Yeah.
in a physical form. So I would not be doing that. But normally when that happens because, let's say, the soul who has passed is maybe pretty evolved, so they can manipulate and come to the person they've left who is so devastated. And that is an act of compassion and love to help them move on.
Right.
Okay, did that answer, is that what you were asking? I hope that's
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. But no, I wouldn't be doing that. But that normally will happen when there is a loss of a loved one,
Yeah.
whoever, and there's such devastation. And they do that really to help them move on.
Mm-hmm.
It's an act of love. Okay, so I guess if there are no more questions, that I will take my leave. Next time is August, isn't it? Summer, still summer. And then in September, I'm going to come and Jesus is going to come. He's not going to do the whole class, but he will come and speak to you. So I would ask that before September, start getting your questions for him, so that he can, because he will like to connect with you. You will love his energy. He is a being of great love, great energy. And so I would ask you, start putting your questions together now. Now, next time when I come, be thinking about, I do connect with you guys sometimes. When you're resting, when you're meditating, I will sort of I don't interfere, but I will send love or send energy. And so, that gives me an idea of what would be a good thing for me to talk to you about. But, next month maybe be thinking about whatever questions. Whatever I talk about, you can ask questions about anything else. It doesn't have to be what I discuss at the time, okay? What I talk about is what I think will be of value to you, that's what I hope. And then I like to have your questions so that we can have a dialogue and open up some new ideas is what I like, you know? Okay, so if there's nothing else, no more questions? All right, then I will leave. But I know I want you to know that each of you is loved, that you are loved, and you are part of us here. So we always think of you with love, and we look forward to our connections with you. Your guides connect with me as well. So I will leave you now, but know that you are walking the path that you came to walk. And if it feels like there are boulders